Good morning, Sam. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. And yourself?
I'm doing great. I am just excited to be here today, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. And so, why don't we just start off with you sharing your story, telling the listeners who you are and what you do?
Yeah, great question. I firstly am honored to be here. Thank you for creating this space where people have the ability to share pieces of who they are, to bring more hope to the world.
Mhm.
Um, my story started at a young age, at the age of 5 years old, sitting on the couch beside my dad, watching professional soccer on TV. And I grew up with this belief that one day I could be one of those pro athletes on the TV screen instead of the 5 year old sitting on the couch. And I carried that dream with me for many years, and it brought me across the globe. At the age of 13, it moved me to Italy for 6 months. Um, at the age of 17, it was starting to bring me into the US as a Canadian. I earned a full ride Division One soccer scholarship. And long story short, I ended up having three major knee injuries and two surgeries, and I lost a full ride soccer scholarship. And it felt like I lost my identity as a human being at the same time because athletics was everything for me. I mean, my email address was soccersam99 at hotmail.com. It's like they were not separate things. And when I had this challenge, I was very fortunate that my parents were very supportive, but I also had a teacher named Michael Loudfoot who just believed in me and helped me realize that soccer is just one game, but life is filled with thousands of games. And at any point in time, you can start playing a new one. And he taught this lesson in class one April about small, consistent actions making a massive change. And he's like, Sam, I know you're struggling, but I see something great for you in the future. And for you to find that greatness, you need to choose something new and take a small, consistent action towards it. And so every day I'd walk home from school just trying to figure out what small action I could take. And about 2 weeks after that day in class, when he taught that lesson, I was walking home from high school and I saw a coffee cup sitting on the sidewalk. And I just made the decision that my small, consistent action would be picking up trash in that
Mhm.
moment. And so I started putting a garbage bag in my backpack. I would fill it with litter on my way home from school. I did it for about 4 months until one of my good friends saw me driving home and he pulled over. He's like, man, why are you picking up garbage? And I was like, dude, why are you driving a minivan? And he's like, why don't we do something together with this? So we start picking up trash for 1 hour once a week. And there was no big plan to change the world. It was just to see if my teacher's idea was correct.
Mhm.
And we did it for those 2 months consistently and gained so much support and momentum from our city and from other parents and other students that we continued the project for 6 years. And we ended up filling over 3,000 bags of garbage and, and doing over 350 events, giving out close to 6,000 volunteer hours to high school students. And the initiative literally featured all over my mom's Facebook page.
Yeah.
And, for me, that was really the start of the story and the journey that I'm on now. Because when I started this initiative, picking up garbage, we needed volunteers. And one way I thought I could use my skills to get more volunteers was doing presentations in front of groups of students. So I started doing these 3 to 5 minute performances and presentations, and those turned into 15 minutes, turned into 20 minutes. And then one day a principal was like, hey, you're really engaging and the students love listening to you. Can
Mhm.
we please have you back for like a 60-minute thing? And I was so nervous, and I built a 60-minute program, and I started doing it in local schools near my house. And then it kind of just never stopped. And so I've developed this passion and this knack for performing, sharing ideas and stories that move people emotionally, and hopefully create more hope in the world as a result of their actions. Um, but that's really a little bit about me.
That's amazing. That is amazing, Sam. And you have such clarity in what you articulate. I can tell just by this short amount of time that we've been talking today, you have a vision. And quotes really resonate with me. And the quote that comes to mind is be the change you want to see in the world. And that teacher inspired you to be the change with one consistent act at a time. And that is so incredibly powerful. So when you go out now and you speak to groups of students, um, how does that affect you? How does that affect the students? Because our students now are probably more anxious and depressed than ever before in this world. So talk to me about your presentations and the service to students right now.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the main goal anytime I ever step on a stage or a platform and speak is to, well, for me, there's two goals. The first one is to help lower anxiety, like this general angst that so many students have, help them block out some of the noise that might be causing them a lot of anxiety in school or at home. And the second goal is to help them increase their self-esteem, like
Mhm.
just start shifting the way they see themselves. I travel with a giant red backpack that serves as an analogy for our minds and the thoughts that we carry. Um, for the younger students, they think it looks like an Among Us character, if you ever heard of that game. um, and and yeah, I have those two goals, but the way that I achieve those two goals is not by delivering a typical presentation. I think that so many students go into an assembly and the first thought through their mind is, oh, here we go. We have some guy coming in to speak to us. Um, like I've actually been standing at the door of a gymnasium where a high school student is walking out the gym and a teacher is stopping them, and they say to the teacher, "Oh, I got permission from my parents to sign out." And I'm the
Mhm.
speaker. I'm standing at the door. They don't know it's me. And in my head, I'm like, if only I could help you understand the next 60 minutes is going to be so different than what you've ever experienced before in an assembly. Um, because for me, it's not a presentation, it's a performance. I had a mentor earlier in my career, and he taught me this analogy of a chocolate covered almond. It's like,
Mhm.
the almond is the nutritious part, and you need to eat it. But if it's not wrapped in chocolate, then nobody eats the chocolate. No one eats the almonds.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's false because I love raw almonds, but I appreciate your perspective. Um, and so for me, it's like the chocolate is the entertainment and the humor and the storytelling. And you spend 7 minutes on that to earn the right to spend 3 minutes sharing ideas that might move students. Um, for me, it's a lot of self deprecating humor. It's a lot of
Mhm.
storytelling from mistakes that I've made in my past or things that I think would resonate with students. And I think one of the best ways, maybe to just capture some of the impact, I get so many messages from students while I travel.
Mhm.
I try my best to get back to them as I can. I could just pop one open here and I'll read it to you. So here is one from, this is a student that I recently spoke to. Um, and we took a picture at the engagement. There's me and the kids. And
Awesome.
it just says, I really appreciate hearing your performance. It really hit home with me, especially the part about emptying your backpack. Thank you for the book, and I'll definitely let you know once I finish it. Sounds like this student won a book. But for me, it's messages like these. There's another one right here. Like there's the moments after the presentation when a student connects and reaches out that really makes me feel like the work is making an impact and bringing hope to the world.
Mhm. Yeah, and our kids need hope. Our teachers need hope. And listening to somebody who has lived it out, as you have stated, with grappling with that loss of your identity is so very powerful. So thank you for doing that. Now, my second question is in terms of leading with hope as a system of self efficacy, I've built an acronym. H stands for habits, O for optimistic outlook, P for passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E for excellence. So I'm wondering, Sam, what resonates most with you and why?
I think all four of them resonate, but the one that has the greatest impact on me while you're speaking is the O for the outlook.
Mhm.
Um, because I think our perspective changes absolutely everything. When I started my journey doing performances and presentations, I set a goal to be represented by this amazing speaking agency in the US. And I stuck it on the walls in my bedroom on sticky notes everywhere. I wrote it in my journal every night before going to sleep. And 2 years into my career, my phone rang and it was this agency. And I started screaming. I'm like, Mom, Dad, you're not going to believe this. We got a call from this agency. It's going to change my life. Um, And then they sent over an agreement, this formal agreement, and it was a 10-year exclusive agreement. And it was going to take 30% of all the work that I do over the next 10 years.
Oh,
And I was just like, something in my gut is telling me this
wow.
ain't it. This isn't the right choice. But everyone in my life was like, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it, because I didn't have much success at that point in time. And something in my gut just kept telling me no. And I was fortunate that I stuck to that intuitive feeling. Um, and I called this individual. I said, look, I'm really sorry. This isn't going to work. I look up to you. You're an inspiration, but something just doesn't feel right. And so
Mhm,
we parted ways. And I ended up finding a gentleman shortly after that period of time named Chris, who would become one of my mentors and coaches.
mhm.
And I hired Chris in uh, January of 2020. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. And
Yep.
so I made this decision not to sign with this agency, to take a break from my university studies, to invest a lump sum of money into this gentleman named Chris. And then all of a sudden, everything fell apart. And I remember calling Chris mid-May after trying to hold it together for a month or two, just completely bawling my eyes out, telling him it was the worst decision I ever made, that I should be back in school, that I need to cancel our coaching agreement. Um, and Chris, he just let me spew all my thoughts and perspectives and my outlook
Mhm,
onto him. And
mhm,
after a good, 15 minutes, he just gave me an invitation. He's like, come to this location Tuesday afternoon. I want to show you something.
mhm,
And I get in my car Tuesday. I wasn't very busy. Not much was happening. I drove out to this location and I walked down this narrow hallway with an orange construction looking door, and I pop it open. And on the other side, Chris was standing on a stage with curtains behind him, 6 TV screens in front of him, doing a virtual presentation. I had never seen a virtual presentation. Though as I
mhm.
sat in the corner of that room, my mind started shifting. It went from like, this is impossible to maybe there is a format in which you can still deliver your message and spread hope to the world. Maybe it's just
Mhm.
not the way you're used to. And all these types of thoughts started to shift. And the presentation finished, and Chris walked up to me. I'll never forget. He said, um, "Sam, more people in the world need hope. More people in the world need this service, but
Mhm.
everyone's giving up and quitting, which means there are less people doing it. If there are more people who need it and less people who are doing it, don't you think it's the greatest opportunity?"
Wow. That talk about reframing. I think about educators when you say that. There are so many educators that are losing hope right now and they're giving up. And now we need strong, powerful, inspirational educators more than ever. So I'm thankful for those relationships. I'm thankful that you had that Chris in your life and he was able to inspire you to persevere. That's powerful.
Yeah, and for me, it comes down to the outlook, right? It's like what we choose to focus on, we find.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's just a lost art in using the difficulty sometimes, you know?
Mhm.
Like there's a little clip on YouTube if you search "Use the Difficulty" by the actor Michael Caine, and he
Mhm.
talks about learning how to act. And it was an improv class, and the director puts a chair in the middle of the scene,
Mhm.
and he jumps into the room after opening the door, and he stops. Michael says, "Why is this chair here?" And the director goes, "It's improv." He goes, "You need to use the difficulty. If it's a drama scene, you pick up the chair and you hit the other person. If it's a horror movie, you hide behind the chair. It's like use the difficulty." And I think it comes down to our outlook or our perspective always,
Yeah.
because two people can go through the same challenge but have totally different um, perspective about it. They choose a different significance attached to the issue. So I'm blessed to have Chris in my life and so many educators who have reframed things in my mind and shifted my perspectives.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, that was a beautiful transition into the next question. Most of us face those difficulties, those adversities in our life. So, in terms of your life, how do you overcome that adversity?
Great question. One of my greatest challenges was losing my dream as a professional athlete. I didn't get into the details, but I was on one of the highest performing teams in the country Every athlete on my team had full ride Division I scholarships. 4 of them ended up in the MLS, North America's Professional League. 2 of them on the Canadian men's national team. And it was so difficult to let that piece of me go. Um, what helped me get through the challenge was reminding myself that there's a plan for me. There's something else waiting for me. And it sounds cliche, but we don't get to choose the circumstances that unfold in our lives. We can choose the significance though that we attach to events. And so I just decided I'm going to tell myself that there's a reason for this, even if I don't know what that thing is yet.
Mhm.
Um, and it was the support of not only the change in my belief, but also people in my life who cared about me. So whether that was my parents or my teacher, Mr. Loudfoot, who just consistently peppered my mind with positive thoughts, those things help more than I think they give themselves credit to realize. In fact, I still eat lunch at least once every summer on Mr. Loudfoot's porch,
Mhm.
and I'll tell him, sir, that class, April 2017, about small, consistent actions, you changed my life. Brandy, he looks at me and he says, I don't even remember teaching that lesson in class. Sometimes we don't even know that we're having an impact on people. So, he, along with my parents and support of my close friends, helped me a lot. Um, and then building skill in a new practice brought me so much joy and fulfillment during that challenging time.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think we trick ourselves into believing we love doing something because we're good at it. It's like, who doesn't love doing things they're good at? But for us to get competent at doing any activity, we need to first be absolutely terrible at doing it. And so with soccer, I had passed that stage of being terrible when I was young. And then it became this game that I loved and I enjoyed because I was pretty good at doing it.
Mhm.
I was fortunate that I started just directing all my focus to a different game. And for me, that was presenting and performing and public speaking and writing. And I still have the video of my first speech when we recruited these volunteers to pick up trash at my own high school. And the speech is absolutely terrible. But I chose a game and I, with laser focus, just continued pursuing it. And, after the first year or two, people started, you know, validating that new identity in me. Hey, Sam, you're amazing at speaking. Come deliver a speech at our school. And you never want your self-esteem to be attached to someone else's positive words about you or your work. But at
Mhm.
that point in time, I definitely needed some of it, um, and it helped a lot. So I would say the thing that helped me get through the challenge was deciding what it meant to me, like giving it my own significance because we can control that,
Mhm.
having a strong support system, whether that was teachers, parents, coaches, and friends. And then thirdly, choosing a new game and with laser like focus, building skill in that new thing to rebuild some of my identity.
Yeah. Sam, I cannot tell you how much I needed that message today. I think it's going to resonate with our listeners. And personally, you have inspired me today, and you
Mm.
embody what I call hope. You have showed the habits, the small, consistent actions, the optimistic outlook, the perseverance through difficult times. And you are an example of excellence. You have crafted um, a skill and you're giving back to the world, and you truly are being the change in our world today. So thank you for that. And as we wrap up this podcast, what I would like for you to do is to share with our listeners, how can they get in touch with you? I would love to bring you to my school at some point. How can school administrators reach out to you and schedule you?
I would welcome every conversation. I'm looking for more opportunities to serve while I'm still young and still have the fire in my heart to do this work. The best way would be to go on Google and search my name, SAMDEMMA. My website will pop up. Hop on samdemma.com and just email me. There's a contact form at the bottom. I'm also on all social media platforms, so if educators would like to connect there, please feel free to do so. And Brandy, I would also love to work with your school, so let's chat.
That would be amazing. And Sam, as we finish up here, is there a project that you're working on right now that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, I set aside some time and resources to pursue a project that's lighting my heart on fire. that may make no sense at all in terms of like the business context.
Mhm.
But every year there's something. And this year there was a young man from Kenya named Brian Nambago who connected with me 5 years ago after watching a video on YouTube. And we've stayed in touch since then. And he wrote a book and he sent it to me a couple years ago in a PDF document on email. And he listed my name as one of the mentors. And we've never really talked. So I was like, dude, like what's going on here, right? And we built this friendship and we've stayed connected. And over the past 3, 4 years, he's built a pretty cool platform doing performances in schools in Kenya. And he's been like, Sam, come to Kenya, come to Kenya. I'm like, dude, it's halfway across the globe. My mom's gonna kill me, you know. Um, Not to mention it's like a 24-hour flight.
Yeah.
So I always said no. And then last year, something in my heart was just like, call Brian. So I called Brian. I'm like, dude, Kenya next year. And he lost his mind. He got so excited. We
Mhm.
hopped on a Zoom call, and then I called a friend of mine who grew up in Tanzania, who now lives in Vancouver, and the three of us formed this team, and we called it Empty Your Backpack Africa, and we've scheduled 35 voluntary presentations in high schools across Kenya. And so from July 11th to August 25th, that includes 1 week of vacation at the end.
Mhm.
Um, we're going to be doing this like 6 week speaking tour across Kenya. And for me, that's one project that I'm so excited about. There's a website. If you search emptyyourbackpackafrica.com, people can put their email address to get a daily update from us while we're there during the trip, um, where we'll be sharing what's going on each day, just almost like a journal entry delivered to your inbox. Um, and so, yeah, that project is probably giving me the most joy and energy. And then the last little one I'll share real quick is a children's book I'm writing about kindness that
Mm.
will be released in November.
Oh,
So
awesome.
those are the two. Those are
Yeah,
the two.
those are both amazing projects. And I look forward to following your journey to Kenya. That is super exciting. And
Thank
then,
you.
of course, the children's book. Bringing hope to our kids is what it's all about. And Sam, you are truly a beacon of hope. So thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate it. And I look forward to getting to know you better in the future.
Dr. Brandy, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And everyone listening, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to this amazing podcast. I'll talk to you soon.
You're amazing, Sam. Thank you.